Hello and welcome, Threadheads. My name is Ashley, and before I begin, I would love to know how you're doing today. Personally, I feel amazing, but that's mostly because you're here. For this week, the theme is office gossip. We will be discussing some interesting workplace dynamics, some unusual colleagues, and people who may have tried to do good, but unfortunately, that backfired. And as the unsolicited advice givers that we are, I figured it'd be good to see whether or not we think this is a hostile work environment, whether or not we think people should be fired or offices should be shut down. As usual, if you enjoyed today's video, why don't you go ahead and click that like button? If you would like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe, which would help the channel grow and mean the world to me. And you can also get notified of when I post, which is every Monday, by hitting that notification bell icon down below. But before we begin the video, I do want to say thank you for being here, as always. It means the world to me that you are here, but it also means you make bad choices and that you're kinda nosy. I'm not judging you because I'm just as nosy as you are. Dare I say even more? I'm the one making the video. Without further ado, let's jump into some stories. Ashley read it, and now, so will you. We are kicking off with a 10-year-old post by Tresio under the relationship subreddit, and they say, me, 26 female, with my husband, 28 male, and his ex, 30 female. She just got hired at my office, and it's causing problems. My husband and I have been married for 2 years, together for 8 years. 7 years ago, he cheated on me with a repulsive woman who knew about me but still pursued him relentlessly because the challenge was fun. I found out by chance when he accidentally sent me a text that was meant for her. I cut contact and tried to move on, but he was persistent and eventually we got back together. There was a drastic change in our relationship after that. He seemed to lose all interest in other women in general. He said that the time without me had been an eye-opener and that he never wanted to feel like that again and wanted to better himself in every way possible. It took a long time for me to even remotely trust him again, but it happened with time. I thought I was over what had happened. My mom, everybody's best therapist, right, kind of pounded it into me that I had two options: break up and move on, or get back together and work past it. What she was saying was that if I made the decision to be with him, we had to work past it. I couldn't be with him and use this as some sort of tool or weapon to whip out whenever I wanted to over the years. And she was right. That wouldn't have worked. So we worked it out together. He never tried to excuse his actions, which I appreciated, and we both made changes, and then we kind of grew up. We started from square one and built up from there. We bought a couple of houses, we got married, and life was good. I didn't think about it much at all, and when I did, it was kind of in a look how far we've come sort of way. Like I said, I thought I was over it this whole time. Apparently, I'm not. When I walked into my office last week, the first thing I see in the waiting room is the other girl's nasty face. She had been hired with my company and it was her first day. She has a very unique, pig-like face that is impossible to forget. I did not acknowledge her and went to my office, but I couldn't concentrate. I don't want to be anywhere near this awful person. We work in the same department, but on different teams, so we will have pretty close contact on a day-to-day basis, although not constant either. She's been in training so far, so we haven't really talked at all. I've gotten multiple accidental friend requests from her on Facebook when she's creeping on my page, so I know that she recognizes me. When my manager walked her around the office introducing her to people, I just kind of did the smile and nod in her direction. She smiled and winked. Nice.
Come on, let's go outside.
Go outside for what?
We're gonna fight.
I'm not sure what to do. I feel sick just being near her. I see her face and I can't stop picturing it against my husband's. I've been mad at my husband on and off ever since she started at my office. I'm reliving the whole thing and I'm pissed that he did this to us and that I am in this situation now because of him. He hugs or kisses me and I pull away, and I feel crazy that the reason for this is something that happened 7 years ago. I did talk to him about it, but I'm not sure what to expect from him. He's extremely sympathetic and apologizes profusely that I have to be near her. He keeps pointing out how much we have grown and how amazing our life has been, and reminds me that he's a different person now. I walked into our room a couple nights ago and he was sitting on the bed crying because of what he'd done to us. I don't know what to do. I am on a roller coaster in Crazy Town right now. I go from sick feeling to angry to sad to guilty for making him sad to angry again to crazy for being mad over something that I thought was so far behind me. He has encouraged me to do what feels best, whether that be to continue working there or to quit. He is being supportive of either decision and pointed out that he could support us easily if I quit working altogether. I don't want to leave my job. I worked extremely hard to build my way up to my position. I earned it. I make good money and have amazing benefits, but I feel sick just thinking about being near her every day. Am I crazy here? What would you guys do if you were in my shoes? Am I seriously losing it to be upset about something that's 7 years in the past? Input, please. I don't think OP's crazy. I think what they're experiencing makes perfect sense. I think they have healed from the marriage betrayal. However, I don't think they've ever anticipated having to face the other woman again. Naturally, seeing her there will stir emotions. I wouldn't say OP should leave because they've explained how hard they've worked to build their career. Also, when OP compared the other woman's face to a pig-like face, I cackled a bit. Is it a bit shady? Yes, but I'm allowing OP this one because you know what? This other woman has been very salty. First of all, the wink, go to hell. Second of all, the stalking and sending her friend requests over the years is crazy to me. That makes me wonder, is she just coincidentally at this new office or is she stalking OP? That is even scarier to me than working with her every single day because it means her obsession is so bad that she has gone from stalking me online to want to stalk me in person. I don't think OP should give her the satisfaction of knowing that she can encroach her space. I think OP should keep her power by staying in her workplace and informing her manager about the entire ordeal, just so if anything happens, people in the office are aware that this woman may try to do something or be someone who makes OP's life miserable. The top comment by a deleted user says, "She was in the past, plain and simple. Don't give her any power to spoil your life. She is not that important. A few years ago, my ex-wife got a job in my company, not as close in proximity to me as she was to you. It was horrible at first. We ended things with the worst horrible term possible, and we have kids together. I didn't sleep a wink the night I found out she was part of the company. Then I went to work, looked straight past her, and started my day. A friend asked me why I seemed so calm, and I told him the wife I knew was dead the day we divorced. That over there is nothing but a stranger, and that's how I moved on. You and your husband have decided to start from ground zero 7 years ago. There is no need to dig up the past. Consider that person dead, and the woman you saw was nothing but a stranger. Good luck to you both." Blah023 says, Why is the advice here so bad? Leaving your job makes her already win. Going to HR doesn't make any sense since this happened 7 years ago. OP, I would suggest couples counseling, which will enable you guys to work through the issue. Don't let her win. And in response to that, Motua Luna says, it's kind of easy to say, don't let her win, but OP is in an absolutely awful situation here. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to protect yourself and your emotional well-being. Unfortunately, that may mean leaving the company. It's really not about letting anyone else win. It's about not bottling things up if you can't. OP has a very limited set of options, and all of them are crappy. Some people would be able to push through it, and some would not. That's okay. I'm sure the last thing OP wants to do is let this person drive her out of her job too. But sadly, that's often the reality of things like this. I really do hope OP will be able to work through it and keep her job, but it's not a shortcoming on her part if she can't. I still suggest counseling because, of course, this ripped open old wounds, and OP's husband may need a little guidance right now himself. I think don't let her win is really unrealistic, bad advice to give someone who may not emotionally be capable of that. It's not a game, and it's really terrible that OP has to make some hard choices based on her own betrayal. OP didn't get any say in any of this, but she gets a say now. And whatever decision she has to make for her own well-being is not letting the other person win no matter what. Done or wrong says, you forgave your husband for what he did. Her actions were no worse than his. If anything, he holds more blame since he was the one in a relationship. It's time to forgive her and move on. The more power you give her over you, the more miserable you will feel. Edit. Forgive doesn't mean condone. It just means move past what happened and accept it. She sucks, clearly, but you're older and wiser now and can handle this. OP does make an update, and they say, first, I want to thank everyone for your advice and replies. I read everything and I tried to respond to as many as I could. One thing that I want to clear up is that my husband never slept with what's-her-face. I realized how that was implied when I said he cheated, but that didn't happen. They hooked up, sans actual intercourse. And yes, I know that beyond any possible doubt, so no reason to speculate there. Anyway, onto the update. She got fired. Turns out, Miss Crazy Pants used me as a reference to get the damn job. I had decided not to say anything about her to my boss because I figured, hey, what the F ever? But like you, top commenter, so skillfully pointed out, she's the past. She's nothing, she doesn't matter. So I had decided to leave it alone and let her fail on her own. That didn't take long. My boss was in my office talking about Crazy Pants' performance when she said, I'll be completely honest, Tressio, she's not exactly how you described her. I had no clue what boss was talking about, so I asked her to elaborate, and she said, well, when I asked you about her before we hired her, you described a much different performance level than what I've seen so far. Does she usually take a while to adjust and get into the flow of things? By this time, I was completely lost. I know for a fact that I have never mentioned Crazy Pants to my boss, and I've definitely never talked about her work ethic or performance to anyone at all, unless it's been talking about her grade A performance at being a hooker. Actually, no, I wouldn't insult a hooker with such a disgusting comparison. Slay. Anyway, my boss looked at my blank stare and said, are you forgetting this whole conversation? A few weeks before we hired her, I asked for your reference. You said she was a team player and a great asset. Well, F me. I did refer someone when the position opened up. And when my boss asked for my reference, it was super off the books, very laid back and informal. I think her exact words back then were, so tell me about the woman you referred. I got her resume and she looks great on paper, but how is she as a person? And I answered, in reference to the actual woman that I referred. Turns out, Crazy Pants really is that crazy. She must have gotten my employment info off my Facebook, like so many of you pointed out. I hadn't even thought about that before. I've since changed my privacy settings and decided to apply to F with me or something. I have no clue what her endgame was. She probably wanted me to get the reference request from my boss with her name actually said just to mess with me or let me know that she's watching. I don't know if she actually expected to be hired. It doesn't matter now because she got super fired and probably needs a psych evaluation. I don't know, I don't care. She isn't worth worrying about. She's blocked from all my social media accounts, and our building security already has a record of fired employees to keep an eye out for. If I hear from her or see her again, then I'll look into legal protection from her crazy ass. But for now, I'm letting the whole thing go. Bye, Felicia. I must say, that is a very satisfying ending. I'm so glad OP took advice from people on Reddit and realized that she cannot give this woman power over her mentally, emotionally, or in her career. And it's crazy to think that this all started because of a coincidence when OP referred another woman to the job. Turns out Miss Crazy Pants, as she has nicely named her, was hired on the back of that assumption that they were talking about her. If you were in that situation where the affair partner was now employed into your office, how would you handle it? Do let me know what you guys think. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a sip from my tea and then we'll move to the next story. This next post was initially posted in a German subreddit and also in German language, but a kind Redditor has translated what OP posted. But unfortunately, they haven't translated any of the comments. It just means there's a lot more pressure on me to give good advice because no one else is giving advice. Let's see how it goes. OP is Dangerous Calendar 960, and they say, coworker shares private information about me in a meeting. Hey everyone, I, 27 female, really need your advice on how to handle this situation. I work an office job and next to me sits the executive assistant, female 61. We don't get along well because she treats me like her daughter. I notice it every time it happens and ask her to stop, but she doesn't. Today, we were in a tense meeting discussing a sensitive topic for the company. The atmosphere was already strained among the 8 participants. At some point, our boss suggested taking a break or calling it a day. I agreed that ending the meeting might be the better option. The assistant then looked at me weirdly and in a very aggressive tone said, "Well, you sure know a lot about terminations." There was a brief, awkward silence before she immediately added, "Because she had an abortion." I was completely stunned and had no idea how to react. My colleagues were just as shocked. I just wished everyone a nice weekend, left the room, and went home early. It's true that I had an abortion this year, but I have no idea how she found out. Only 2 people in my life know about it, and she doesn't know either of them. Regardless, I find it absolutely unacceptable to bring something like that up, especially in a professional setting, whether it's relevant to the discussion or not. Now, I'm wondering what steps I can take. We don't have a workers' council. Our HR representative is based at another location and is currently on extended sick leave. Our boss sees these kind of conflicts as personal issues that should be resolved between the individuals involved. I plan to confront the assistant on Monday. Could there be legal consequences for her, or do I have to accept this and move on? I'd really appreciate any advice. Thanks in advance. Now, I don't know anything about German law, but that feels like it's a breach of privacy and it's a huge workplace misconduct. That is like a lawsuit waiting to happen. That is so bad. I would still escalate this to her boss. No one should ever have their personal information disclosed. OP is just being neutral about saying, okay, let's just call it a day. And then your response to her is, of course you want to terminate it because you've had an abortion. When there was awkward silence, she doubled down. That's the craziest part. Like I said, there are no comments on this one, so we're going straight into the update by OP, which is on the same day, and they said, I have an appointment with a lawyer first thing Monday morning. Since we only need a sick note from the 3rd day of absence, I'll be calling in sick on Monday and discussing the next steps with the lawyer. I have also found the contact details of the data protection officer at the clinic, but I'll wait until after my lawyer appointment to proceed with that. I really appreciate all of your support. The idea that sensitive data might have been leaked from the clinic did not occur to me on my own. I hadn't even considered it before. You have all opened up a lot of options for me that I will discuss with the lawyer on Monday. Thank you for that. Update. First of all, thank you for all the helpful responses. I will try to reply to as many as I can. After a thorough search online, I found that the partner of the boss's son actually works at the clinic where I had the procedure. I strongly suspect that this is how the assistant got hold of the information, as she regularly attends family events and birthdays of the boss's family. This seems to be the most likely explanation for how she found out. OP then makes a second update 6 days later, and they say, hello everyone, here's the promised update. On Monday, I had a meeting with a lawyer, and it was definitely worth it. During the meeting with the lawyer, my boss called me and asked me to come to the office for a clarifying conversation. After discussing with my lawyer, I went to the office to have the conversation. The assistant greeted me in tears and insisted that it wasn't meant like that. I took my favorite colleague with me as a witness/support, and we entered the meeting. Given the sensitive nature of the topic, I asked for minutes to be taken, which everyone agreed to. In the conversation, my boss explained that such behavior between colleagues would not be tolerated, and the assistant had to apologize and promise that it would not happen again. I then asked what consequences would follow, to which he seemed confused and asked if I even wanted consequences since an apology was given. Naturally, I demanded consequences for the assistant and clarification about the data leak. I also told the boss that it was outrageous that he was asking if I wanted consequences instead of implementing them himself, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as spreading private information. He became a bit grumpy, but explained that it wasn't a data leak and that he had just, quote, slipped up. When I asked where he got this information from, he bluntly admitted that he had learned about it through his daughter-in-law. He even followed up with, quote, "But you couldn't even tell you had the procedure." I seriously thought I was going to flip out in that room, but fortunately, I managed to stay composed. I asked for confirmation of his statements to make sure everything was understood correctly, and then I had everyone sign the protocol. I got up, wished everyone a nice day, and informed him that my lawyer would be contacting him and we'd go from there. One of the 6 colleagues who was in the meeting on Friday approached me afterward, apologized for not saying anything in the moment, and wished me luck, strength, and that someone would react better than he did if something like this happened again. I really appreciated that. 3 days later, here's where we stand. The assistant received her 3rd warning. I don't know where the first 2 came from. Today, I received confirmation that she has to leave the company. I think my boss would have preferred not to make this decision, but since the situation spread very quickly through the office grapevine, it seems to have influenced his decision. As for the clinic, the first contact was made through my lawyer. I didn't personally call or inform the data protection officer. The lawyer took care of all of that. The lady at the clinic no longer works there, as the lead doctor seems to be aware of the risk. He apologized both over the phone and in writing, and I'll be receiving a nice compensation. As with my employer, we were able to agree on a very nice severance package, and the termination of my employment is happening soon. These are all nice solutions, but there is still civil and criminal proceedings ongoing, which I can't discuss right now. The lawyer is motivated to bring further consequences, especially regarding GDPR violations. All I can say is, don't tolerate this kind of treatment. Last Friday, I was completely overwhelmed and unsure how to handle it, but I received so much support and perspective, especially here on Reddit, that I was able to navigate the situation and seek help. Thanks for reading all the way through and for all the responses and comments. I'm so glad OP didn't just let this slide. The boss is such an a-hole. He genuinely was shocked when she said, "What are the consequences?" And then he's so dumb and so stupid to openly admit that the reason she knew about it was his daughter-in-law. He threw his daughter-in-law under the bus, knowing that minutes were taking of that meeting. I'm so happy for OP, and I'm so happy the assistant got fired, and I'm so happy the daughter-in-law got fired, because people need to know that the more you F around, the more you're going to find out. Anyway, if you were in OP shoes, would you A, jump over the table, B, smack the crap out of the assistant, C, report to HR, or D, do absolutely nothing and pretend like you didn't hear what she said? Do let me know in the comments, and in the meantime, I'm going to take a sip from my tea, and then we'll move to the next story. Okay, this last post was made under the relationships subreddit by Practical Bell, and they say, "My 36 female husband, 41 male, got fired for harassing a co-worker and won't talk to me about it. Housekeeping Ashley here to flag some trigger warnings. This will involve talks of harassment, stalking, and threats. My husband Charlie and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We've had our ups and downs, but are currently in an up. I don't think you are, but let's keep going. He has never done anything like this in the past, so it came out of left field for me, and I'm very much shocked and at a loss. Charlie is a computer programmer and was a senior engineer at his former company, where he had worked for 4 years. He'd never had any trouble with coworkers, and were both friendly with a few of them, mostly other men and their wives. On Friday of last week, he came home around 11 a.m. and told me he'd been fired. he was really upset and agitated.
Sorry for the laugh.
And I didn't want to push him about it, but he told me that they'd said he was harassing a coworker and was fired. The information I've been able to get out of him is 1. The coworker is Beth, a junior engineer who he's never mentioned to me before. He said she's, quote, terrible at her job. 2. Beth slept with a senior engineer we are both friendly with, Darren. Darren wasn't involved in the harassment and wasn't fired, etc. 3. The company's lawyers were there, and among the things they told him was that Beth could have pressed charges but chose not to. 4. Something happened with her car, but he won't say what. His exact words were, quote, there was something with her car. 5. He was escorted off the premises and is not allowed back in the building to get his belongings, and instead has to arrange with security to pick them up after business hours. He's been so vague with his wife that I think he's done so many things that he knows he's going to get divorced for. Anyway, let's keep going. As far as anything else goes, he won't give me any details. He's not interested in seeing a lawyer because he says everything is legal. He's basically admitted to sending Beth some emails, but he won't say what they said or anything like that. I don't know if Beth sleeping with Darren has to do with it, but the fact that he gave me that detail makes me think it does. I'm not sure how it relates. Darren is a very nice, single man who is in his late 20s and approximately the same age as Beth. My mind is running wild here. Charlie has been depressed and withdrawn all weekend. He won't talk to me about it, and he won't talk much in general. I work remotely, so I was home all day with him, and he played video games all day and then went to bed at 6 p.m. The fact that he won't tell me anything and isn't interested in seeing a lawyer makes me think that it's bad and makes me worry that everything is true and not just a misunderstanding or a small thing blown out of proportion. He has never been flirtatious with other women or cruel to them, and he's never said anything bad about other women engineers he's worked with. I don't know what to do here. My instinct is to be supportive of my husband, but I don't know what kind of behavior I would be supporting. I don't want to run to his coworkers we know and ask them, since they are more of our friends than my friends. And while we spend time together at get-togethers or bars, I'm not close with them. In an immediate sense, I don't know what to do about helping someone who is so depressed and will not talk to me. I think what OP does not want to do and what OP needs to do are two different things. As much as they say they don't want to interact with the other co-workers to get the full information, I think they need to have the full context of what their husband can or cannot do. I don't see a company just firing someone for harassment because of a few emails as he's claiming, and the fact that he's been told that she could press charges. I think this is going beyond what he's saying to OP. And I think OP is going to be making a big mistake to not try to figure out what's going on and just trusting her husband's statement. Given how he's gone into a funk, I don't think she's going to get more out of talking to him, and he's not agreeing to go to a lawyer, so maybe he can agree to go to a therapist. I don't trust him, nor do I trust his narration of things. In the comments, Clever account name 13 says, I would tell him you have to assume the worst if he won't be honest with you. I've got to say, he must have done some bad crap to be escorted off the premises with no warning like that. Either he was hating on her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and then hated on her. Edit, reread. I'm guessing he tried to F her, sent her crazy emails, and vandalized her car. He could easily still be charged criminally and or sued. And RS 1 million says, I've worked at larger companies, and when they fire people, sometimes they are walked right out of the building. The reasoning is that they don't want the fired person to make a scene and rock the boat. It's heartless in my opinion, but it does happen. Something tells me OP's husband did something terrible because lawyers were there, and apparently the girl could have pressed charges. That is very unusual. My guess is OP's husband got jealous that Darren was sleeping with Beth and not him, as he had a crush on Beth for a while, and he flipped out and went all nice guy on her. He mentioned there are emails, so there's evidence in writing as well. This does not bode well for OP. For anyone unfamiliar with the nice guy theory or trope, it's basically where men will perform excessively nice deeds with this underlying expectation of receiving romantic affection or something in return from women, rather than genuinely being empathetic or genuine nice people to women. This shouldn't be misconstrued with guys who are genuinely being nice people. The key aspect of the nice guy concept is the lack of authenticity in their actions. It's mostly this idea of going from being incredibly nice to you, and once they see they have no chance with you or have been rejected by you, becoming resentful and extremely aggressive towards you and claiming that, quote, nice guy finished last. As they are suggesting, OP's husband has gone from having a huge crush on Beth to resenting her to the point of harassing her. And that is a pattern that most nice guys follow, to guilt trip you into putting out or feeling sorry for them enough to give them a chance. And Mind Your Business says, seeing as it got so far that he's been fired and he doesn't want to fight it, it sounds like the allegations are probably true. The fact that he brings up Darren makes it seem like he's harassed her as a result of sexual jealousy. Does he usually shut down conversation on things? Does he usually keep things from you? I'd be very cautious about what he's hiding and what it means for you and your relationship. Even if it's not sexual and it's just plain old harassment, do you want to be with a grown man who harasses young women to the point he gets fired? OP then posts an update the next day and they say, my thread was locked before I was able to respond to any of the comments, but I was able to read them this morning. I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work and my husband was still awake playing video games. I presented him with a very good idea someone suggested of sending me an email with the details, but that it wasn't acceptable to shut me out of this situation since it affects me too. His response was basically, the paperwork is in my car, go get it if you want to read it. I asked him to go get it so we could look at it together, and he said, you're going to believe what you want anyway. All of this is unusual for a marriage because I'm a pretty patient person, I think. We went out to the car together and he got in his car, handed me the papers and left. For about 2 hours, I was panicked because I didn't know where he went and if he was okay or if he was thinking of hurting himself. But his mom texted me at 9 saying he was over there and asked me what happened and if everything was okay, etc. His parents live about 15 minutes away and I guess he told her he was going to stay there. So, the paperwork. According to the paperwork, he sent her multiple harassing emails from anonymous email accounts. The emails are printed out and attached. He apparently did this while at work and they have been monitoring his user accounts for 3 months. The emails aren't sexual or romantic in nature and are all anonymous and about how she sucks at her job, wouldn't be there if she wasn't a woman, how she should quit before she gets fired, and how everyone in the office hates her. He made fake user accounts for his company's products that she works on and submitted bad reviews of her work. He also did this while logged in at work. Freaking idiot. He sent an anonymous email to her boss saying that she was sleeping with a senior engineer on another project. He put a gun catalog in the windshield of her car. I don't know what this gesture means, but I obviously understand that it was meant to be threatening. Unfortunately, inside was a subscription card that the company auto-filled with his name and address. She also says she has been harassed for the same length of time, about 3 months, on Twitter. He only logged into one Twitter account that harassed her at work, so they can only say one was him, all telling her to quit her job. So, I don't know what to do now. This is all terrifying to me, and I feel so bad for this woman. I have no idea what this is all about. He works with other women engineers, and he has worked with male engineers who don't pull their weight, and he's never done anything like this. I would have bet $1 million that he'd never do anything like this. He's at his parents right now, and I don't know what my next move here could possibly be. This is so scary and out of left field to me. In the comments of the update, OP does add an additional information, and they say, I forgot to mention, this paperwork is copied from the original and was signed by both him and his company. I don't know if that's a full admission, but it seems damning either way. Can you imagine investing so much time to harass someone to quit their job? This is so scary, and I feel so bad for that young girl. He is an engineer. He is so stupid that he logged into these accounts in the office. He couldn't even stay to face OP. He ran away to mommy and daddy. If you were in OP's shoes and your partner came home and told you that they got fired because they harassed someone, what would be your thinking if you were in OP's shoes? But with that, we have come to the end of today's scroll down the rabbit hole. I do want to say thank you for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me, and it also means a lot to the channel. If you've enjoyed the stories, please give it a like. And if you would like to see more content, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe and notification bell icon so you always have something interesting to watch every Monday. And finally, if you have your own questions, your confessions, or your events, I would love to hear from you guys. We have our own subreddit, which is r/AshleyReddit. Feel free to post on there, and you never know your story just by being the next video. Until next time, keep it nosy, keep it cozy. Ashley read it, and now so did you.